Is it Paisley? Hello, Dakota Paisley. Thank you for watching. Guys, give the show a like and a share anywhere you are watching, live across all socials today. We will have a fourth superstar joining us here in a mere matter of minutes, gentlemen.
Moments.
How are you doing? William Clark, hello. Love when you watch the show, William Clark. Scott, you feeling good?
Yeah, man. Doing good, bro.
Good. How about you, K. Smith?
K. Smith. Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm getting back in the rhythm. Looking forward to sitting in the seat and chat and with the buddies.
Did you get a haircut yesterday?
I got just for you. I got a haircut
nicely
yesterday.
done.
I said, you know what? My hair was a bit disheveled.
Very nicely done.
I said, you know, Mr. Miller, if I don't show up with a proper haircut,
I would have noticed.
you would have noticed.
I would've
You would have
noticed.
called me out in front of gazillion people.
The only thing I haven't noticed with you in the 4 years and change of us doing this
That I'm a
is
lefty.
that you're lefty.
It took about 3 years to do that. It's okay. I know where I fit in the scope of paying attention to. I get it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I am a lefty, sir. And don't hate me for it, but I'm a lefty.
All right, guys, give the show a like and a share. Give it a like and a share anywhere you're watching. We'll have some fun here in a matter of moments. Judah
fun,
Wickower,
fun.
our director, a lot of real estate news. Jay Powell, today, was it 2 o'clock?
I believe so. Yes.
2:30 in that vicinity. This one should not be a surprise.
Do yourself a favor. Watch this World Cup match and stay away from that. It's going to be
Is there one today?
today
Yeah,
is the
last semifinal?
last semifinal.
And then the championship Sunday at 10 a.m.?
So it's interesting. This is Paris and Monaco, which is Monaco's like the first Arab country to make it this far. But it's really interesting because Monaco used to be a French protectorate for like.
Monaco has a team. Aren't they like the size of Charlottesville in like geographic?
That's kind of the exciting part of it there, Scott, and the fact that they're
So they can put together a country that's the size of this town in like geographic space can put together a team that extends, and the U.S. can't put together 11 human beings that can go this far in a tournament.
No. The U.S. did very well, but Netherlands,
They had one legitimate game and they tied.
We need to make a correction. It's Morocco.
It's Morocco.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Morocco.
All right.
Morocco.
All right. Okay.
Morocco.
Did I not say Morocco?
I think
You said Monaco.
Monaco. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Those are different.
Sorry. I'm on a little jet
I mean,
lag.
they've got
My
a
brain-
Formula One race, but they hide a bunch of money.
Morocco is a North African country.
Morocco. Sorry, folks.
It does have the population of over 37 million people.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about Monaco.
I know.
No,
right.
no.
That's why I wanted to.
Okay. Let's hit the relive.
I wanted to jump in.
Let's try this again. Hey, guys, how you doing
37 million people is what, 12% the size of the United States of America there. All right, Judah.
And they speak French and Arabic.
We can rock and roll here. God, it's great to have Keith back.
I just make up stuff.
I speak two languages, English and Smith.
Keith.
Keith.
Let's be more specific. Keith.
Judah.
Smith has a lot of dialects to
I'm
it.
about to say, yes. The Smith
Well, you
has
know
a lot-
many of the Smiths.
which is how
it's
I can
great
answer
to
the
have
question
you
the way
guys
I just
back.
Yeah, with some authority. Some authority.
I wish this was all on camera. Can we turn the cameras on so people can see us having some fun over here, Judah? We're in your hands, my friend. Monaco.
Yeah, we started with an M. I was close.
Guys, good Wednesday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. It's great to connect with you guys through the I Love Seville Network, a network today presented by Ross Mortgage and Scott Mortgage Morris. They are offering refinancing products, an opportunity to get in the dream home, the vacation dream home of your choice, and helping you get to the closing table with your personal residence. And let's highlight the products that they have for Hispanics and Latinos. The word on the streets from Culpeper to Roanoke to Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and across the Commonwealth is some of the best financing.
We do.
Ross Mortgage and Scott Morris.
No social, but an ITN number. we've got the availability to get you the home of your dreams that you've been looking for, and we're excited to get help. If you are Spanish only, we've got clients that are Spanish only. Amada Mendez on the team is our lead there. She gets back from Mexico in 4 days, so we're excited to have her back as well.
I love it. I love it. Jonas Smith is watching the program. She's trying to keep her husband in check. She
you
says
have,
the
like,
team
special-
is Morocco. Morocco. She's saying the team is Morocco. Literally, has written multiple comments. Yona.
In bold? Is it in bold?
Yeah, it's in all caps. All caps. All caps.
Yeah. Hey, stupid.
All
That's what
caps.
Hey, stupid. Well, my question for you though, Scott, is
I love you, Yona.
do you have anybody on your team that speaks Keith? Oh yeah, you
that's right.
You might qualify for
That's
that.
what I'm here for.
Keith is Scott's got a lot of practice speaking not only Keith but many various
Smith dialects.
dialects of Smith.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's great to have the band together.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
man.
Good.
Glad
Good.
to see you back.
Thank you.
Looking
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Thank
Enjoy
you.
the family.
This was a business planning trip, which we did a bunch of business planning, Yona and I. But since our youngest daughter's going to have our third grandchild around my birthday in January, this was my birthday trip. It's for the big 6-0, and I wanted to have my grandkids around me for my 60th birthday, so I had both grandkids with me, my oldest daughter, my wife, of course, and son-in-law, and we had a great time for a week. And for those of us out there that are grandparents, it is, and those who are not there yet, it is freaking awesome. I'm falling in love with this whole grandparent thing, and making it hard to focus on writing business plans when you got a little 2-year-old hanging on you, but we got it done.
Brian Liu puts in the feed, Jerry, for the first time in what I can remember, Keith looks more tan than you. Please explain.
Well, I may have been in the South a bit, so for about a week.
Kevin Yancey, good morning. He says, good morning, crew. Hey, Kevin.
Okay.
And Kevin Higgins and Kevin Yancey. What do we got to talk about here?
Yeah, when are we dropping that off? I think because we're definitely closing out the year. Where I
Are
said
we back
we
on
would
bets
be.
again?
Well, I mean, Kevin Yancey and Kevin Higgins, bottle of brown juice for Scott Morris over
Yeah.
at the studio.
Yeah. Today would be the day that kind of.
Seals the bet.
Yeah. It's yesterday actually is what sealed it, but today is just going to be,
Icing on the cake.
we're going to come in. They're going to.
So how's that going to happen? They bring in the bottle live in? How we doing this?
I don't know. Aren't you doing? Isn't there on the 21st? We're doing a live Christmas party. He could bring it. They could bring it in there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. That's a surprise that I was going to give later on in the show. But nice job, Scott.
Details to come.
Oh God, we're doing a show, right? Just
Details,
checking.
we're doing a show. Details to come. Gentlemen, you.
Forgot to tell you
I
that.
didn't. Nobody
I forgot
said
to tell you.
surprise.
No, I certainly hope you make it.
Okay, I definitely will.
I know Judah and I will be there. This man's going to be there.
Well, since you've opened the can of worms on
Might
it,
as well spill
Yeah,
the beans here.
but Jerry and I will not be here.
Okay.
This will be Santa will be sitting in this
Okay.
seat, and his helper will be sitting in that seat.
Well, we hope you bring.
I can bring that angry elf energy.
No, not one of Scott's
not on a holiday
favorite
show.
Christmas
Thank you
characters.
very much. Thank you very much.
Maybe coming on Wednesday. I'm personally going to be coming. Well, I will be replaced by an elf.
Okay.
No, an elf. Yes, an
your
elf.
buddy the elf.
Okay, my buddy
Let's
the
get
elf
this,
is coming.
Get this straight.
Okay. Buddy the elf.
elf will.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott.
Buddy
so
the
Buddy the
elf-
elf is going to be sitting there,
But
Santa,
not from the movie. Oh, it's Buddy the Elf from the movie? Oh, okay. I'm gonna Buddy the Elf. I didn't know
We're doing
that.
this live, folks. We're doing show
I
planning
literally
live.
figured this out. Buddy the Elf is going to be replacing me.
Okay.
Buddy the elf will be sitting there.
Okay.
Santa will be sitting here. Frosty, thank you. Frosty the Snowman will be sitting in Judah's spot, and Liza the dog may or may not be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, depending on if Amazon shows up in enough time with Liza's.
So you got what Christmas character will replace Scott Morris?
I don't know. I could do Yukon Cornelius.
No. Okay, folks. So here's the game plan for the 21st. I was going to do this later at wrap up on the show, but we're going to do it now, apparently. I go away for a freaking week, and I totally lose control of executive producership on the thing. I have Yona. Sorry, but we can't go away again.
You got Cornelius. I'm dying over
That actually is really good fit for you.
I love
like
Scott
it.
Morris
I like it.
so much.
So the game plan is
Such dry humor.
Santa and Buddy the Elf will be sitting there, and we've got about 20, 25 people that are going to be rotating into these chairs.
Okay. I definitely didn't know that when I dropped this.
When this conversation was broached and we talked about this, and Keith was like, "Do you think this would be a good idea, Jerry? This is your studio over here." Do you
I
think
may
this
have
would
only
work?"
said a couple
I think
people.
he said 8 people. Now we're up to 20 to 25.
It may be more than
Evidently,
that.
there's going to be a full bar over there.
There will be a full bar.
Okay, on that desk behind us, which would be great.
Which
and we're
will
getting it
benefit from the supply from the Kevins.
Yeah, Kevin's, Yancey, and Higgins. That would be a great time to drop it
And
off.
we're going to get a little food because we need to put a little food in people's
I
stomach.
mean, it's going to be 10 in the morning. That's a good idea right
we're
there.
going to put a little food in the stomach. But what's going to happen is the guests will come in.
Woody Fitcham says you don't look a day over 58.
Oh, Woody, I love you. Woody, you and your beautiful 7/8 are in our thoughts and prayers every day.
100% Woody. I
Thoughts and
second
prayers
that.
every day.
Scott thirds that over there.
Absolutely.
We appreciate the updates you've left and undoubtedly thoughts and prayers for your better half over there.
And has enough time to take care of his family, his business, and give me wonderful comments. Thank you very much on that 58. So the game plan is you've got to wear a sweater. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to have three awards, and the folks that are listening and watching will vote for it. It'll be the best overall, ugliest, and most festive. And we're going to bring people in, and you're going to give your list to Santa Claus and what you want, because I'm assuming you were a good boy this, or Santa's assuming you were a good boy this year, and give your list, and we're going to kind of rotate people in and just have a ton of fun. It's been a serious couple of years. I think. 2023 is going to be a serious real estate year and
2023 is going to be a serious year.
a serious year. So
Yeah.
we kind of want to wrap it up with a little fun. And I know Woody said, I believe Woody responded yes, if I double checked my Evite right. If not, Woody, please show up.
Woody, are you going to be there, my friend? Let us know.
And wear your funkiest, festive, ugliest sweater, and we'll let the people decide.
I like it. I actually am doing a ugly sweater party at Grill 309 in Culpeper tomorrow from 5 to 7.
There you
go.
go.
Agents, people, we got a pretty decent.
You're hosting.
Yeah.
You are very hospitable.
Thank you. Yeah.
He loves to entertain, Scott Morris.
Yeah, and then it's that time
How
of
much
year.
work is Tova doing coordinating this?
A lot.
Tova, you're the glue of the office over there,
Yes.
Tova.
Yeah. And then I've got an annual dinner that we're doing on the downtown mall with a group of friends.
Oh, cool.
There's a Smith brother that will be there.
Oh, jeez.
That one you really got to have
What
full
da-
dialect. And
Yeah.
translation.
So what date is that?
The 22nd.
Okay, I'll make sure I have enough cash
Okay.
for bailout.
Okay.
Where are you guys going?
CNO.
Oh?
Oh, time out.
What's so funny about that? CNO's great.
It is. This is not a CNO thing.
CNO.
Oh, because these guys are going to CNO.
And it was brother. Yeah. But it's like when he said
We got to
earlier.
be careful. Mom watches this.
He's like the friend that I'm meeting after this for lunch, talking about
You're going to actually.
petit pois would be over his. You'd be wasting your. The
You
lunch
realize
on-
you can't wear a baseball cap. Z realized you can't wear a baseball
I know
cap.
this. We started out. Orzo was on the list. In the past,
wow.
we've done.
Can't go wrong with any of these.
What's,
Hey, are you on that list? Did you been invited?
What's that?
Have you been invited to this?
To the Smith dinner? No.
No, this is like the. This
This
is
is
like,
an intimate friends.
This is like the
Homies
So
dinner.
So it's-
Lifelong.
So I got an idea, Jerry. So it's the 27th, right?
Oh, he wants to crash.
We're going to crash
For a
it.
second, I'm good with that. Yeah, I booked more seats than I think we've got. That was the biggest problem. Is I
Yeah,
I
it's
usually
tough to
book-
find.
Yeah, trying to get seating
Look,
is.
but that's a good thing, right? Because I mean, it's a little difficult right now. It's just like the trip we took. Coming back was freaking brutal, right? Plane was packed. The flight was 45 minutes late. We missed the connecting flight to Charlottesville. Had to spend an extra whatever. It was insane to come on up. But the good news is people are back in planes, people are back in restaurants.
yeah.
The restaurant owners are doing good. We were having a conversation. We would have had this conversation in 2020 in December, 2021 in December. Like, hey, a restaurant's going to survive, right?
Well,
There's
so
turnover, right? Of course.
So in the past we've done Prime, which is no longer there anymore, which is a
Correct.
bummer. 'Cause
105,
probably,
right?
Yeah,
Prime 105.
probably would have done that again
Prime 109.
this year.
109. Look at this.
Um,
I got the wrong country. Got the wrong number.
Downtown Grill, no longer there.
Also closed.
So what's your go-to steak place in
I mean,
Charleston?
it's now the Aberdeen Barn.
Which was discussed, but it is important that this dinner be held on the mall.
Because they can wander to the.
That's
yeah,
right.
Got it.
That's right. For
There'll be some-
post-dinner activities.
I love it.
Yeah.
There'll be
So,
some wandering.
So, did you guys get the spot downstairs at CNO at the
I
bar?
think upstairs.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
What time?
I mean, Chef Dean Maupin, the owner and the executive chef of CNO, prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Scott and the homies are going to be there.
I mean, I got to show up just to take pictures of my brother in the CNO.
Absolutely. But your brother, Prime 109, was that was the.
What was Matthew wearing at Prime 109?
I don't remember.
Was he wearing a ball cap, a little camo?
Yeah,
little
Carhartt.
Carhartt?
Yeah.
Some Tims?
Love all my brothers and sisters to death.
You have a lot of them.
But we're very different. Every one of us are very different people. Very different people, which is, I guess, a good thing. Our family gatherings are, we've got 5 of us. When all of us show up with significant others and all that stuff, my God, we're like 30-something people, right? We're well over 30 people.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of Smiths.
That's a lot of Smiths. That's a lot of booze.
Smiths. A lot of that. Everybody holds hands. I mean, you've sat at our table a bunch of times. Everybody hold hands. Pop will usually do a prayer, and then after that, hold on to your seat. You're on your own.
Buckle up.
You are on your own. And if you can't keep up with the conversation, oh, by the way, not only the conversation, but the fact that not one conversation ever gets finished. Is that
that's
about
fair.
right?
That's fair.
Right. One conversation never gets finished. It's always interrupted about 1,000 different times. So just imagine 30 of me, and there you go.
Woody says as long as everything's okay with the missus, he will be there for the holiday
Good.
party.
Good.
Any other details you want to get out for next Wednesday?
Yeah, no, it's all about fun, man. Woody, I hope you can make it. If there's anything we can do to help you do that, we're in. But basically, we're going to set up some food and some little bit of libations, adult beverages. Everybody's going to have a lot of fun, and we're just going to rotate. Santa Claus and Buddy the Elf are going to call people in and out and have a conversation. I know Ned Galloway is going to show up. We've got a couple city councilors that are going to show up. We've got a.
Can we get an idea of the city councilors coming?
I've got one yes that he's. And I'm working on 2 others, so I'm going to leave it alone.
Okay.
More on Friday or Monday.
Okay.
We'll have on it, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And then on Friday and Monday, it's just going to be Jerry and I, and we're going to be doing a little bold predictions for 2023. Break out the old crystal balls and our magic wands and stuff like that. And I'm actually going back and looking at last December, and we're going to do what did Smith get right and what Smith got wrong.
Well, I can tell you right now that there are a lot of people who forecast it, who had rates and everything that you could get wrong, got wrong from last year's that get the title and economist put in front of them.
Get the title of most powerful banker in the world, Jamie Dimon.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie Dimon has been completely wrong on this.
Yeah.
We're talking J.P. Morgan Chase there.
So we're going to stay away from predicting interest rates because that's just not a good.
Predicting interest rates is like saying you're going to win the lottery.
Well, but Scott's been calling it. It's dropping down, right? Where are we at now?
I mean, we're
6.5.
Yeah, 6.5. I think
From
they're
7 and
they're gonna
something,
post
right?
6.25 today. But I'm seeing there's a little negative movement. We're gonna flirt. We're gonna be 6.5 to the end of the year.
Well, the 10 years dropping, right? There was 3.5, I think, this morning, right?
Yesterday's where all that movement. Everything happened off of yesterday's data. Today is just semantics.
Just talking CPI, came in at 7.1, expected at 7.3, a little cooler than expected. This the nitty gritty Scott's referencing today is Fed Chair Powell talks to the world at 2:00, and the expectation
And
is
the
a
rest
half
of the world's going to be watching
World Cup.
World
Yeah.
Cup.
A half-point increase with some hawkish
It's not
language.
just the rest of the world. Everybody in the financial industry is going to have two screens up, and one's going to be soccer, and the other's going to be this. And it's just not. Nothing's going to happen today that didn't already happen, I guess, is the best way to explain
Yeah,
it.
there's always the chance of a surprise, but there's not going to be.
Not
a half a
between
point
now-
is
yeah.
probably where we're going to be at.
And the messaging is going to be more important, and the messaging is going to be that we are steadfast in our commitment to combat inflation.
Yeah.
And just gonna strum that tune all the way through.
So do you think the better than expected unemployment, meaning that unemployment has not grown, might impact Powell's thinking or the Fed's thinking?
Primary thing was the CPI yesterday.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean they want to see.
They want unemployment to go up.
Yes, 100%.
They wanted housing. They wanted housing to done, and it's not the case. I sent you guys. I did a presentation to Greene County's Board of Supervisors yesterday. Ned Galloway and I on the Regional Housing Partnership, and I ran a bunch of numbers for.
You and Ned drove to Green.
Excuse me.
You and Ned drove to Green.
Yeah. Ned and I drove to Greene County along with two staff members, and I did a presentation to Greene County about the Regional Housing Partnership and what we do on the show every day, or three times a week, and talked about their market and what's going on. And it was a good presentation, but the reality of it is, interest rates are not impacting the market, right? There's at least locally.
They're impacting the market. Well, I think we've seen a slowing number in the number of listings that have come on, in part
Oh, my
due
God.
to people who
Oh, yeah.
have refinanced into a lower rate, who are having a difficult time making that shift. But I don't think it's going to take a whole lot of movement to create more activity. So as we continue to come down going into next year, along with just your seasonal aspect of what moves people, to making these decisions, that's where we're going.
So, I'm just looking at it right now. Last 7 days, 32 new homes came on the market. 58 went pending in the last 7 days. Car footprint. That's like a 50, almost 50, half more went pending
What
versus
I
active.
want to talk about is this rental that got all this activity on Facebook.
Oh my goodness gracious! Did you see that?
Well, we'll chat about that.
And we got a cord right here to step over. This cord right there. We got a guest going to join us here in a matter of moments, and I'll let Scott introduce her. We'll get to that rental. It went viral.
Yeah,
Oh, I mean,
I got
took
that.
off.
It went viral. You want to be about a fist away from the. There you go, perfect. And your cameras are in the center. Judah Wickhauer, why don't you go to the studio camera, if you could, and then we'll have Scott Morris introduce just a fabulous guest on today's network.
Super active social media marketing human being and fantastic realtor with Nest Realty, Japrecia Clark, or Pre, and
Good
we are
morning.
lucky
morning.
to have her here with us.
Thank you. Good morning. Sorry for my tardiness.
No problem. Totally understand. Introduce yourself to everybody that's watching the show.
My name is Japrecia. I am a Nest Realty agent. I have been in the industry for close to 22 years. On the financial side for 16 years. Left as a mortgage consultant, so Scott and I are able to understand conversations very well all the time. And I've been a realtor going on almost 10 years now.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic, Keith. We love chatting with insiders like Japrecia.
Yeah, so welcome on board. We're meeting each other for the first time. My name is Keith. Not quite. I'm a little longer than you. 35 years I've been in the business. We've opened our own little brokerage connected with Keller Williams, Yes Realty Partners, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you. You surely upped the beauty of the set, that's for sure.
It smells fantastic over here. Oh, my
That's for
goodness.
sure. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Other than that, where you're from and what's your core business like?
I'm in the marvelous hub of Culpeper.
Nice.
So I say it's a marvelous hub because last week we had a Nest Summit, and I was one of the panel guests there. And something that they asked me is, how do I manage my travel, the market, the territory that I cover here in Virginia? And so the great thing about living in Culpeper is I'm about 45 minutes to an hour from any place major: Charlottesville, Northern Virginia, Front Royal, Fredericksburg, you name it, and my car Midnight can take me anywhere.
Midnight.
Midnight.
Okay.
Ooh,
You name your cars too.
Yes.
I do as well.
Yes.
Keith names his truck. I don't know if you name your. Scott's got many vehicles over here.
I don't anymore. I used to. It's probably been a few vehicles since I have named one.
My truck is Sexy Silver. We have a
like
Midnight, a Sexy Silver. What do we got over there for your truck?
This is a Little Ear show. I can't tell you the name.
Okay, all right. All right.
Well, so I cover a pretty large territory in real estate. I represent buyers, sellers. I'm not just one-sided.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Like I said, wherever Midnight will allow us to go, we go.
So what kind of vehicle is it?
BMW. I got it for my birthday last year.
Ooh, good for you. What
very
version?
nice.
330.
Good for you.
Yep.
Good for
It's
you.
pretty
We've
cool.
been BMW family for like decades, and we're like grandparents now. So we.
I don't say that too proudly. I've always been a Mercedes girl. So my aunt has.
You were
kinda
doing really
disowned
good
me.
up until then.
Yes.
She got champagne taste over here. I like it.
Oh, I don't
Yes.
know. Mercedes folks have usually got, like me, about my age, a little bit of gray hair, and BMW is a little bit more
Trendier,
modern.
yeah.
Michael Plecker, another
Hey.
agent, throwing a little shade to you.
Yeah, I
He
know.
says Keith's truck has big truck envy.
It does.
Okay. Keith drives it a Tacoma. Is that what it
I
is?
drive a silver Tacoma.
Silver Tacoma. It's fantastic.
And
truck
we'll
over
leave
there.
the name off the air for the moment on that end of it.
We
but-
need to cut some sizzle reels here, and we have yet to do it here. Why don't we do one with Scott and Japresha here? Guys, how is the market doing right now, in your opinion, and what do we expect the market will do going into the first quarter and into the spring market of next year? Scott, you want to start? Then you follow, Japresha.
I'll start.
So the market right now is, the property's overpriced, it's sitting. However, if it comes to market and it's prime and it's priced right, it's still a multiple offer situation, which is continuing to drive pricing to where it is, meaning that things are not coming down, or at least we're not in this area. We're not in the Sun Belt. We're not in one of the places that's suffering from an oversaturation of investor purchases that's then come to a screeching halt. We're very much in an area where the properties that are coming to market, if they are wanted by you, they're most likely wanted by someone else who is also in need of that property, because we have an inventory issue where the number of people who actually need properties is shorter than what's actually coming to the market, and we're seeing that day over day, and we're going to continue to see that in the next year as we see rates trickle down. We're not looking at a cliff. We're going to see more activity as more buyers come back into the market, and those buyers are going to be going after the same listings you are. So if you want to make a move, get in touch with a professional, a Japresha, a Keith, myself. Let's come up with a plan for you so that you feel comfortable making these decisions when you go to execute that plan.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Absolutely. I think everything you said, check. I think for me on my side of things, I do feel like certain markets, like I cover Northern Virginia, so I feel like in certain markets such as that, they're always constantly busy, same probably here in Charlottesville. But some of your more rural markets, as you mentioned, things are still moving. And something that I've shared with my sellers, because I have tons of sellers reaching out, getting prepared for January, February
yeah.
to try to list their properties, which that's keeping me super busy. But, the sellers before that, I said, you still have buyers. You still have purchasers that are out there. You still have people that are accepting jobs in different states. You still have life-changing events that are unfortunately happening. So you still have buyers that are in the pool. It's just the programs. And so I think the lenders, you guys have done a great job with coming up with different niche products to kind of help balance out what the market has done a little bit. So that's been a little bit easier to kind of get purchasers, approved, ready, mentally prepared to go out and write those offers.
Yeah, we can get concessions, probably the most beneficial and what will continue to be the most beneficial, as long as the market supports it, is the 2-1 buy down. And that's being able to lower the interest rate. So let's say if you're at 6.5 today, your first year is going to be 4.5%, your second year is 5.5%, and it stays in perpetuity at the 6.5. And the real benefit is you're using a concession from the seller to buy down the prepaid interest. And if you refinance the loan inside of those 24 months where you're using that interest to buy down, you'll be refunded that when that loan is satisfied and refinanced, meaning that after you refinance, you're going to get a check back from the servicer for the leftover amount of prepaid interest that you used during the process.
So when do you think that?
That's fantastic. Let me do a little housekeeping and throw it to you. So you have 2 sizzle reels that we can use for future content. The first one with Scott and Japrecia, and then the second one on the 2-1 buy down, which I think he explained very succinctly there, Judah. Keith, show us yours.
So when do you think that 2-1 buy down is potentially going to go away? Because this is a tool we've been using quite a lot in conversations on it. Matter of fact, a friend of this show, I had a conversation last week when we were actually out of the country about the 2-1 buy down. And the
Ray
reason
Cadell brought this up for the first time. He's watching now.
Ray Cadell brought it up. This was
The
something
agent.
that was for those of us who've been around in the 70s and 80s. I wasn't in the real estate business in the 70s, but I was in the mid 80s on that end of it, and it was a common thing when we were double digits.
I say it's sticky. I say it stays around for a while, though, as long as what you'll get into at a certain point will be, once we get to a bottom for rates, whatever that bottom is, whether it's 5.5, 4.5, whatever that is, at a certain point, one, the more activity, if we get back into a situation where seller concessions are just no longer an option, you'll see it go away then, because it doesn't.
So I think
only
seller
makes sense.
concessions when interest rates drop a little bit, right? When interest rates start dropping a little bit, like if we get to that magic point that you think it will by the end of next year, it'll kind of go away. But the reason I bring that up is I've been instructing or been talking to buyers. Really, now's a great time to buy. Would you not? Would you not agree? Would you explain why?
I think it's a great time to buy because for me, as I stepped onto the real estate scene in 2013 or 14, you negotiated. You actually had an opportunity to negotiate. And so for me right now, I feel like I'm back in that moment again. You know, the pandemic market kind of took things like off like lightning speed. And so, you know, we're changing. And to me, it's just like, no, we're back to normal. And so the buyers that I've represented lately, it's a great time to buy because I've been able to get concessions. You have home inspections.
Values continuing to increase,
yes,
so does equity.
Yep. And I just feel like you have sellers that are a little bit more willing to negotiate to actually make a really good deal. You're not just buying a house and you know nothing about it at all.
So the back to your conversations about the market. Look, I've always said we're now back into the micro location, right?
Mm-hmm.
Micro location matters, right? It depends on if you're 2 blocks this way,
Right.
2 miles that way, depending if you're rural or urban. But it matters, and you know the 6 things. I'm going to give you a compliment here in a minute. The 6 things I've always talked about where the market is right now: location, price, features, condition, timing. Is this the right timing?
Mm-hmm.
And who's on the other side matters. I'm one of the few real estate agents that will publicly say that. On the other side really matters. And when you have a pro on the other side, then you can get through these negotiations. Because, look, I was just looking at the absorption rate the last 7 days. We're still in 7 to 8 to 9 in our local place per day coming off the market. But, you know, the absorption per day of units, it's the same as it was last year. Right? So
Right.
the absorption rate's the same, right? Units coming on, units coming off. It's just less of them.
Yes.
And that's when you've got to have a trusted advisor and a professional at the other side of the table. Do you agree with that basic
I do
concept?
agree with that, and I think something that makes this a great experience for both sides, buyer and seller, is when you set the right expectations with the seller
There
as
you go.
well. And that's something that I try to make sure that I do faithfully, even through the pandemic market, because you have to know the market you're in. A rural market is very different than a Northern Virginia market, and the expectations, even when it comes down to earnest money deposits.
Sure.
You know, it's like vicious in Northern
maybe
Virginia.
more, especially when it comes to earnest money.
Yeah, it's vicious in Northern Virginia. And it's a little bit more laid back in the rural market
Sure.
because you have rural programs, you know, where people are actually taking advantage of 100% financing. So therefore, they may not have as much in reserves. So, you know, right now I'm letting sellers know, forget about the pandemic market. A couple weeks ago, I do a little segment called In the Car with Pri, and, you know, I'm telling the sellers, look, forget about the pandemic market, it's over. You know, thinking that you can just wait for 5, 10 offers, and that's even in a really good market,
Sure.
even with a good location. You just don't have people like rolling in and wanting to roll out the red carpet and give you everything.
I've been doing this for 35 years, and only the last 5 years I've ever seen multiple offers on any regular
Yeah.
basis. If you were to get a multiple offer on the listing, you know, 5, 10 years ago, it was like, whoa, right? It was, you know, the right buyer for the right house at the right time that matches everything, and you were able to negotiate that one
Right.
particular deal to closing. But we're still, at least in our marketplace, we're still seeing, you know, if it's in the right location, right price, right features, right conditions, we're getting 2 or 3 offers.
Yes.
Which is still competing, right?
Yep. And I think something else you said is location. I have a property that's been on for some time now. Almost had an offer. There's a property I placed on the market last week, and it has an offer already. So it really depends on where it's located, and things are still moving nicely.
So how do you have this conversation with your client that, and you're on the sell side, walk us through that conversation when they are still thinking we're in the middle of the pandemic, and how do you have this
Clients are
conversation?
still have that mentality?
Yes.
They do?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And they're pretty aggressive about it.
Yeah.
And that's in any market. They're pretty aggressive about it. They're quick to immediately challenge your knowledge about where the market is, your ability to market their home a little bit differently. And it's not something different. We're not trying to recreate the wheel here. We're selling the house the same way. But it's just resetting the expectation. And I've had to have that hard conversation in the last 6 months, definitely.
So tell us what that looks like to you.
What that conversation looked like is one of the particular clients that, you know, I represented. They've tried to sell a home a number of times, during
Sure.
peak times of the market. You know, I'm not the only agent. I'm agent number 3, I believe. But we actually had to have the hard conversation about, look, let's talk about the condition of the property. Let's talk about the equity that
Sure.
could be in the property. What have you done to increase the value of the property? And immediately right there, they were able to self-assess that they had not put money into the property. It's been a rental property. So therefore, you know, I had to say, look, I've provided you comps, not once, but twice. And you're beyond the top of a home that's in a top 5 of being in perfect condition. So they were able to self-assess that themselves and say, okay, where do you want us to be?
Sure.
And it's like, let's get to where the market is. And I mean, we've had to do a pretty hefty reduction to get them into that price point. And immediately we were able to get
So
a
did you
showing.
start? You started at the. You went live with the higher number, and then
I went
adjust-
live with a higher number, but it was also, again, for them to self-assess because it wasn't my first time representing them. They're very anxious,
Sure.
and, you know, they missed the market during the pandemic because they had tenants that were still in the property. So they were pretty anxious, and they're usually ready to pull the plug after 30 days. Well, 30 days is not enough time,
Yeah.
you know, to get a hard property sold in a sense.
So I've said this numerous times. I am so excited about the real estate market going forward. I have not been this excited about where the real estate market is going, because it really takes what you just did to really make this work for our clients on
Right.
both sides. You know, let's face it. The last 24 months, if you could fog a mirror, it kind of worked,
Yes.
right? Now you really need to be a professional. You need to know your business. You need to be able to convey to it. So hats off to you. You did a good job. So when you lowered the price, did you get some more activity?
Yep, we got some activity. So
Good.
again, they were able to self-assess
Yeah.
themselves. Okay, yes, this is where we want to be. But I also had to prepare them too, Keith, with, you know, I'm an accredited buyer's representative.
Sure.
So I explained to them several times, if I'm watching your property and I've seen the price drop,
Yeah.
I'm going to attack with an offer that's not as attractive to you because I don't know your level of seriousness. So they've received an offer, but it wasn't a serious
So,
offer.
so let's dig into, if it's okay with Jerry and
Yeah,
Scott, let's dig
absolutely.
into this a little bit more, because pricing it right out of the box matters.
Yes.
And what you've just explained is why it matters.
Yes, and so I try to give my clients in the very beginning an aggressive price, a conservative price, and a worst case scenario price. And the worst case scenario price is, hey, look, we've run out of time. You know,
We
my
gotta get rid of
job
this.
starts in a
Yeah,
month
yeah,
and
yeah.
we've got to go.
Yeah.
The conservative number is ballpark where you're going to end up, a little bit higher or lower. And that aggressive number, you've got to have time for. And it depends on you doing all the right things. Have you done all the right things? So, you know, I then tell them, I'll give you a little bit of leeway. Because otherwise, if it's too far out of the ballpark, I'm not your girl. Because then that's
Wasting your time.
somewhat poor representation
Yeah.
on my part that I'm just
Well,
overpricing.
what ultimately happens in Scott's experiences when he's helping people with the mortgages, and if it goes kind of sideways, they're going to blame you, not themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
For
Because
them.
when you get to that appraisal part of it, it's like it's going to a hard stop if it's overpriced. So with this particular client that we've been speaking of, it was more of creating awareness to where they were with the price. It was outside of what I would have normally done, but in order for them to get the house sold, is what you got to do.
Sometimes the buyers are the same way when it comes to, sometimes they have to learn the hard way when they go make an offer that you as agents are apologizing for to the other side before you even submit, hey, just want to let you know something crazy is about to come through. And same thing from when they go, hey, we listed this, you had an open house and nobody's showing up. It's like, we had this conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
One
Yes,
last question
you are
on this
correct.
before what Jerry moves on. So the offer that without giving any details, right? Of course, the offer that you received, it was lower than your initial entry price. Did I hear that right?
Oh, definitely.
No,
But it's,
your
it's lower
suggested-
than the current list price.
No, but your suggested list price.
Yes.
So if they would have went with your suggested list price,
They've been gone.
they would have been gone at a higher price, and that's why price matters
Oh, absolutely.
so much, and that's why you have to have this heart to heart, and you got to have the data to support it, because basically they're potentially going to sell this house for less than what you thought you could sell a home
Oh,
for.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Questions coming in, guys. We'll acknowledge some zip codes watching the show. Got a lot of Northern Virginia. Culpeper's well represented today in the program. Fredericksburg, hello. The Roanoke Valley, Charlottesville, Central Virginia, Crozet, downtown. Questions come in about spring and summer for the panel. And Pri, why don't we start with you? Are we expecting a buyer's market come Q2 and Q3?
I vote yes. It's
You
still
vote
gonna
yes.
Be, yes, it's still going to be a buyer's market because.
Are we in a
price-
buyer's market now?
Yes.
You say yes.
I say yes.
Okay.
And I just feel like prices are going to continue to come down. I think that if a seller's in a great position, yeah, it could be a win for them. But I think things are looking up for buyers. Just the temperature checks that I do weekly with lenders, you know, most of them are optimistic. So that's where I'm going to stay.
This could be the third sizzle reel here. What are your thoughts? Buyer's market now, and then will it be a buyer's market Q2, Q3?
So I think it depends on the property. I think now's a great time to buy for buyers because of the way things have slowed down, especially if the buyer is savvy enough to understand that there are opportunities outside of rate that as far as the equity that they're going to continue to gain. I don't think prices are going to continue to go down. I think prices are going to continue to stay plateaued to increase, because I think as we see a declining rate market, we put more buyers back into the pool. We're going to see more competition going into next year. The shift is going to happen from sellers who have an existing low rate who need to make a life decision or have decided that, you know what, if this is where things are, I'm willing to give up X for Y. Meaning I've got a significant amount of equity that has occurred in the last 3 years. I'm willing to take that equity and apply it to a down payment to the future property, and I want what I want. I need what I need. Meaning, I'd like to downsize, and I want to move from this property to that. Our family is growing. I want to get out of this townhouse and into a single family detached. Whatever those decisions that they need to make, I think people are going to continue to grow their mindset into making that life-changing decision.
Keith?
It is not a buyer's market, and it's not going to be a buyer's market for a while. It's interesting. The markets matter, right? Location matters. So in the Northern Virginia, I don't disagree with you that much. I think somewhere around the Northern Virginia part of it, I think you're going to start seeing that shift. But I was just looking at Greene County. I gave a presentation to Greene County's Board of Supervisors last night. You know, they're under $300,000 in Greene County. There's only 5 houses for sale. The absorption rate is just going way too high. So location matters. So what'll happen from one side of the street or the other side of the street, that house might be in a buyer's market scenario. This side of the street or 2 blocks away, it might be a seller's market scenario on that end of it. But just out of curiosity, you might know this off the top of your head. What is your average days on market right now in your marketplace?
My average days on market is anywhere from 35 to about 52 days.
So that's healthy. That's healthy.
So it depends on the market. In our market
It
here,
depends, because in Northern Virginia, it's very different. I just provided some comps and days on market, and it's like 6 to 10. So
that's the point I'm trying to make,
Yeah.
is that each market's a little bit different,
Very
and that,
different.
and that kind of thing. Historically, depending on who you listen to, what PhD economist you listen to on it, or what talk show that you listen to, it's generally 60 to 90 days is when that formal pivot happens. So in our marketplace, we're nowhere near those dates. But in certain parts of your marketplace. So I think what I want to caution folks that are listening and doing, location matters, right? The micro location matters even more. That Northern Virginia market isn't exactly this market at the moment.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the talk show. 3 very different opinions on the buyer's market topic here on this talk show right here. More questions coming in for you guys here. If you guys want to take some questions. This one has been on, this question's coming in from Crozet, and the question's on the first-time home buyer question. And is it more difficult now for a first-time home buyer to purchase a home? We get this one often. First-time home buyer family here asking the question. More difficult now for us first-time home buyers with rates where they're at and inventory where it's at to buy a home, or during the peak of the pandemic for a first-time home buyer? Who wants to touch on that? Pri, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think the peak of the pandemic, I think it was harder for a first-time home buyer if you did not have any reserves, because the offers were way too competitive. Your competition was coming in waiving appraisals. They had tons of
inspections.
cash. They
Yeah.
weren't doing home inspections. And if you were new to the market, for me, ethically, I didn't even feel comfortable, mentioning that. Just waive the home inspection and just do this and just do that.
Oh, no.
Just to get the house. And, I know that the market was filled with that type of advice, and that's just scary to me, because you have no idea what you're getting yourself into, and it's your very first home. So peak of the pandemic, I felt sorry. I felt really bad for a lot of first-time home buyers. The rates were great. You qualified for a lot, but now that's kind of shifted a little bit. I still think, in my opinion, market does matter, but I do feel like lenders, as I mentioned earlier, they're coming up with different niche programs to get buyers into the market, to kind of help with the rates that have increased a little bit, to make it a little bit easier. And it all depends on where you're looking, but rural areas definitely have a huge incentive because of some different programs in the rural markets.
Scott?
The one thing that's gotten more challenging, it certainly is a better environment for the first-time homebuyer now than during the pandemic. From waiving inspections and appraisals to everything that went into the chaos, the one thing that doesn't exist is the bottom portion of the market. The 285 number is still super tough to hit, and in markets like Richmond, pre-pandemic, you could get a brand new home for $160,000, $175,000, and that just is not there anymore. So that takes a lot of stuff off the table for people trying to qualify at those price points, because now it's you issue a pre-approval at that, or you receive a pre-approval as a realtor, and then the first thing you do is like, what are we going to do with this? And it's not for lack of want; it's for lack of inventory, and that's a challenging just entry level price point is probably the biggest obstacle for the first time buyer. However, if they can get to the 315, 350 range, that I think really that opens a lot of doors. But it's again, there's a lot of different dynamics that go into that, from student loans to existing debt to what does each individual scenario look like. The more rural, we're probably looking at a lesser version of income, which does open us up to more. The rural area is going to have some more attractive price points for that entry level buyer, but it's still a very challenging place to be, depending on the condition of some of those properties.
Well, the condition's important. So as to go back to the product that's available, the 2-1. So we work with a ton of first-time home buyers. We love working with first-time home buyers. We love working with any buyers or sellers, but we particularly, I guess it's the grandfather thing, right?
We like closing deals, Steve.
Yeah,
We like
trying to
closing
close.
deals.
I love to negotiate and write deals and help people. It's all about helping people achieve their goals and their dreams. But the 2-1 program is we're having a ton of conversation with folks about that. And the other thing is the potential option of the refresh my memory, the 301, the renovation loan.
203K?
203K, I was close. 203K on that, so they can renovate it. But I happen to have this data because Greene County had this presentation yesterday. But I'm looking at the 5 homes that are under $300,000, and some of them have been on the market for quite a while. 111 days, 45, 68. But I'm looking at each one of them, and they need a ton of work.
Well, I tell you what, 203K is a great program.
Yes.
Specifically, I've got a builder who's ready to go as far as the contractor side goes. We get a HUD consultant in place that's going to help take that bid and split it up for HUD into materials and labor. And then we could still get concessions we get 6%, so we could still pay your closing cost and use a 2-1 buy down
There you go.
on the product. Have the work done, completed. You refinance the loan depending on where that ends up, where rates and everything are 12 months from now. You could be in a conventional product with possibly no mortgage insurance, depending on the appreciation of the property from the work, from where we started, and your loan amount. And you've got the opportunity, at a minimum, to refinance into a conventional product just with lower mortgage insurance anyways, with an improved rate scenario to get in, take advantage of the rehab, and then move into a lower payment in the future. I think it's a
And if you refinance within 2 years, you actually get a
you're
check
going to
back.
get some of that money back.
You're going to get some of that
And,
money back.
that's a product that I actually advocated for a lot during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
When you asked about first-time home buyers, and we talked about the struggles they had with not being able to compete with cash offers, waiving home inspections, I actually recommended that to several of my clients. We had probably looked at 15 properties and wrote so many offers, and they weren't winning. Let's go back and look at some of the homes that were actually sitting on the market for
There you
a
go.
while. What can we do to make those look like the home that 15 people wrote an offer on? It's a great product.
So I actually think it's harder for first-time home buyers now than it was in the middle of the pandemic.
To use that product,
No,
or
to
to
buy,
get-
to buy, period.
Really?
It's harder. Interest rates are higher, so it's making more.
Less inventory.
Less inventory is less than it was this time last year, and that inventory at that first-time home buyer price point is just really hard. They may not be competing against so many people, but they still can't get there because the numbers don't work
Right.
unless you get outside of the box. Right, you have to get outside of the box and say, okay, guys, if this is what we want to do, we need to talk to Scott. This 2-1 buy down, or
I think that's more an expectations issue. So in that, because they may, and that goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning. If it is a prime property that is priced right, it's still getting multiple offers.
Without
so
doubt.
if you can move them from the 350 house to the 250 house, but doing $100,000 in renovation, they can spend the same amount of money, but then you have the whole, can they be in the house for the renovations? What sort of level of expectations and timeline do they deal with in making that decision in doing so?
So I'm a recovering developer and builder. I built 600 houses in my career. I know a little bit about building and construction. So Yvonne and I, our youngest daughter and husband, are moving to Richmond, and we're literally doing that exact thing you just outlined. Okay, the Richmond market is hot, right? If it's, the price point that they're at, they're doing multiple offers. So, okay, guys, let's take a step back. Let's look at something that needs a little bit of help, right? We kind of know people. We know a guy. I know a guy. And that's the path that we're looking at doing. They might have to live with us for a little while, but, there you go. But that'll be good. We'll have a little grandbaby around the house. That'll be fun. But that's the path that we're looking at going, because the homes that they want and the neighborhoods they want, it's got an 8 or a 9 in front of it in Richmond.
But I feel like that was a lot of what was happening during the pandemic, though. I mean, the prices were increased, so I think there were still some challenges that purchasers faced during that time.
The downside to that, not to interrupt you, but the downside to that is people were buying it for cash investors.
Yes.
Right? That market is somewhat subsided a little bit, right? Not a lot, but some of it.
I think the reason I'm team buyer's market right now is because the last few offers I've written, we've been able to negotiate. I've been able to get things that buyers actually need and want.
Getting 6% in concessions didn't exist in that environment.
So I'm looking at it.
Plus reduction in price.
Yeah.
Well, because sellers, they're kind of somewhat panicky. When you do the 6%, it is a
reduction of price by 6%.
Sellers are kind of panicky. They don't want their house to sit on the market because they know they missed the boat. So, any agent that I'm working with right now, this is not towards you, but, I'm thankful because we were able to offer less, get closing costs, get a home inspection that's
a
not
lot
for void.
Yeah.
And for me...
So I define that as normal.
Yes,
right?
And that's why I said I
so
feel
I
like
think
I'm
we're
in a
more in a
normal
neutral
market right now.
than we are either a seller's or buyer's market.
Yeah.
I love this. I love when we do this stuff. This is fun.
Yes, so I still feel like there's a win out there for those purchases.
More questions coming in. I know you want to get to that rental that I put on social media. Did you see what I put on social media yesterday?
Super cute.
About the shed for $1,100 or the cottage? Okay, we'll
Cute.
talk about that.
I want to live in that myself.
Okay, so that
Not at
topic
$1,100 though.
is something Scott wants to get to. It's right next to the bars in Belmont.
Yeah.
I mean, that literally is next door to Southern Crescent. You know where that's at? And so we'll get to that in a matter of moments. Couple of questions. Maybe we do some rapid fire. This one's come in from Lynchburg. Jerry, can you ask the panelists if they're seeing the return of any seller finance deals? Want to start on that?
The markets that I cover, I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
It's not something that I would see because...
You're in the financing world.
But at the same time, it's something that I talk to people about often. And in Virginia, I strongly counsel people to go into that as an absolute last resort, because in Virginia, the law protects the seller to the extent that if the borrower were to default on one payment, they can wipe the entire deal clean, say thank you for your money, now get out of the house.
Takes 31 days.
Yeah. Actually, it can take less than that depending on how the contract's drawn up.
That's exactly right. How the deed of trust is
How
written.
the deed of trust is drawn up, yeah. Jump in on that question.
Yeah, so we have my wife and I have one rental property that we own that's a seller finance. We're talking to actually a couple other clients that were investors that want to now get out, and we're trying to negotiate seller finance deals with them. As to Scott's point, you need to be a sophisticated buyer to really do that, because the risks are great.
I also feel like, what's the purpose? Whenever someone's reached out to me and asked about that, I'm like, what's the purpose? Why do you need seller financing? Why do you want that?
So you have a plan to get out down the road.
Because if it's
I think most of the time would be to sidestep maybe a lower rate. To come in at a lower rate and then figure out a balloon or a term.
Why would you get a lower rate on? Why would a seller incentivize you with a lower rate?
Because the home has been sitting for a while. And the key for the seller is just to set that term up in a short enough window that it incentivizes the person to refinance.
So how the seller finances work for the deal that we've done and the ones that we're looking at, it's more of a seller benefit than a buyer benefit.
Yeah, it's the seller trying to get out at a property that is long in the tooth.
No, it's
That's the
1031 exchange is what it's all about.
Yeah,
They don't want to pay 1031 exchange, and this model goes ahead, instead of me writing a check for $200,000-$300,000 that they have to pay capital gains on, we give them a X percentage down payment, of a more reasonable interest rate on it with a 5-year balloon or a 7-year balloon, but they don't get hit with that huge capital gains tax. They get it in pieces. So that's how it's working for us at the moment. For the buyer, when we have buyers, hey, what about this? Talk to Scott, right? It's really not a great tool for a first-time home buyer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions coming in. Kevin Higgins in Greenwood. Credit card debt with Americans. How's that impacting loans? So a question for Scott. We're at an all-time high with credit card debt. And how's that impacting any client experiences for Pri and Keith? Interfering with things, the credit card debt you guys are seeing on the street?
So credit card debt typically is not a major problem. I find more people, more first-time home buyers run into auto loans that prevent them from purchasing than credit card debt typically. Certainly it happens, student loans, it's all part of the puzzle. I do foresee, as we start to see some improvement in rates, you'll see people who have accrued credit card debt who already are existing homeowners dip into that equity to refinance to pay some of that down. That is the American way. It certainly happens. People who are already existing homeowners who are planning on making a move, one of the things that we'll do is we'll have some of that the equity from that sale pay the credit card at closing in order to lower debt to income for qualification purposes. There's a lot of different tools and things that we'll talk about in doing so. Credit card debt has not been a red herring that I've seen thus far.
I'd say the same. It's the same for me. But the way that I have my business set up, I'm doing a lot of pre-planning before we would ever get to Scott, and that is actually an issue.
Gotcha. Keith?
So credit cards is an issue?
No.
Where it's not an issue.
Not an issue.
Yeah.
Got it. I
yeah.
apologize, my hearing aid isn't quite caught up on that.
No,
yeah, so at least on our end of it, the buyers that we've been working with, the buyer's sophisticated now, right?
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
highly educated.
Yes.
They know that they need to have certain credit scores and have that, and it is not an issue. I think maybe the freak out a little bit more is about student loans
Yes.
On that end of it, but maybe Scott can talk a little bit about how that actually works from student loans. It's not exactly a one-to-one, right? On the student loans.
So it depends. People get, the concept that if the loan is in deferment, that it may not count against them, but we still have to count a percentage against them as far as.
It's not 100% of it, though, right?
No, we count 0.5% typically is what the most programs have moved to as a qualifying aspect. Now, and if it's a conventional product and you've got it amortized over 60 years or something crazy, we can
60
count.
years?
Oh, yeah.
People are,
Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh,
Yeah, it's.
They're never going to pay this off.
No, that's the whole thing.
Good Lord.
Which is why college costs.
That's the 7-year car loan.
Yeah, the money's never. Oh, that's.
I would call it a Ponzi scheme, but that's a whole
60
different
years?
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But just so a simple Staff Sergeant United States Marine Corps brain operates, if I've got $100,000 worth of student loan debt, you're only looking at 50% of that, right? As DTI, debt to income, or you're looking.
No, I'm talking 0.5%, so that's
Got
$500 a month.
Got it. Understood. Now I understand. Thank you. The Staff Sergeant appreciates that.
We got about 8 minutes left here, friends. And I know you want to get to everyone's favorite rental that has undoubtedly gone viral across the I Love CVille network. We looked at the overall metrics across all our social channels. The listing we posted yesterday, when did we post that yesterday? It was right before the show, so less than 24 hours ago. And before this show, it had been seen by over 200,000 unique IP addresses.
Wow.
That $1,100, I don't even think it's an 80. Is it an 80?
And some of them were out of
It's
the
an
country.
ADU.
Is it, it's not, I don't know, is it a legal ADU?
Yeah, so more on that on Friday, because I'm digging into is it actually legal or not, because as you know, I know a little bit about auxiliary dwelling units.
Well, I know it's legal.
Is it a legal ADU?
I know it's a legal rental. I don't know if it's a legal ADU.
Yeah, that's the question
Yeah.
we need to answer.
I don't know if it's a legal ADU.
And if it's not a legal ADU, and if it's on a R1S property, it may not be legal. So I'm going to dig into that. It may not be legitimate. There's a lot of them out there that people.
I've had to
people do.
caveat this multiple times after posting this. I have investment property. That's not one of mine.
Yes.
I represent real estate agents and marketing their properties. This is not one of my clients.
Yes.
I have to caveat that. Scott, would you like to start?
I mean, I just think that for the cost, it seems,
High.
a little, not a lot of space. I think that's the consensus of most of the people who I saw comment on it as well. Now, here's one of the things that I didn't agree with and I don't care for to see in the comments. It's like, I can't believe the owner's this and that.
Yeah.
Then don't rent it, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shut the. It's
Right.
yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, shut the front door. Like, then cool, don't move there. But if someone is willing to do it, let the market dictate. Which is, also how I feel about
Everything.
appraisers a lot of times. But I keep that bottled up deep inside.
I feel the same. I think it's a microcosm of how expensive the market has gotten.
Yes.
And
That's
that,
it right there.
That has made a lot of folks dispirited or disenchanted, and we're seeing that with the post and the comments. It's emotional because folks feel priced out of the area they live in.
That's
and when you
exactly
feel priced out of the area you live in, you feel like you're not welcomed. And that's why people are responding with such emotion. And to Scott's point, I think he's exactly right. If you have a problem with the price, then don't rent it. Someone can ask whatever they want, and if it doesn't get rented, then it was overpriced. But if
So-
one person says yes to it, then it was priced correctly.
So
because
here's-
real estate only takes one person to say yes for the market to say it's priced right.
So here's the question: will it be rented or not?
The rental history justifies the price. Did you see the screenshot I, posted
and-
with the rental
I
Well,
history?
didn't
that
that
was
part.
I saw that was for 80.
No, that's for the shed.
That's for the shed?
It's excuse me, the cottage. I'm sorry, it's for the cottage. I apologize.
No, I
I'm
think
not
my-
trying to throw shade on the investor who owns it. I know who it is. I apologize. I'm not trying to throw shade here.
Just to,
That's for the cottage.
would you like to comment?
Oh
on
yeah,
that a
did
little
you
bit?
see it? You saw it?
Well, I saw
Okay.
a couple of the screenshots you had, and the reason I was like it was super cute. I actually had a client who rented a cottage shed that they had done lots of updates to, and it was for about $800 a month.
Yeah.
And
It's a tiny
so-
house. I mean,
It is. It's a tiny house.
Some people love that. We
Yeah.
just spent the week in one, right?
Yeah.
2 people. I don't think I'd want to spend a year in one, but we just spent.
And it's just unbelievable. And I mean, I get the emotional part of what you were sharing with some of the comments were, but I also feel like we are in a time where someone is willing to pay it because there's not a lot of rental inventory
100%.
in some places.
it's their own space.
Yeah, it's their own space.
No
They're not in
roommates.
someone's basement.
Yeah.
It's not sharing a room with
Right.
someone. I mean, I've
Has
seen
alley access?
You can stumble home from the bars.
well, I've seen
You
some
know?
shared rooms that are like $900 a month. So I just wasn't.
So what this is to Jerry's point, it's cute as heck. It's in the right location. They will definitely get it
Yeah.
or awfully close to it. It's more indicative of the bigger problem, right? And it's the lack of inventory. So the city of Charlottesville is going through a zoning rewrite, right? And I'm a big proponent of missing middle, right? And allowing this. And I'm actually part of a national cohort that's taking ADUs, usually dwelling units, and using them for affordable housing. So I speak around the country on this. So I'm actually a little bit knowledgeable on this topic.
I think we've also got an expectations problem. Like, part of it is the
Either expectations
media,
or entitlement problem.
that we are marketed to our entire lives. That I've been in and lived in some not great places across the world, and
With people shooting at you.
and the people that. If you were splitting a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 other people, each one has their own bedroom.
Feel like royalty.
Your life is not that bad, bro.
Yeah.
And depending on your stage of life as well, especially if you're in your early 20s, that is where you actually make the sacrifices in order to save to have the things that to hit these entry-level price points.
Judah and I talk about this all the time.
We did this last week, and it's just that I think that there is a perception that I do think, at the same time, some of the costs are outrageous, and not just for the housing market that we face.
So we got two sides here.
In general.
We've got the
Neil Williamson says you're going to lose this bet, by the way. He's got a bet about upzoning in Charlottesville City. And the concept with the upzoning, and I'm going to put it in a nutshell, is the city council, by a date in June
19th.
June 19th of next year, is going to approve upzoning, which just means more density, more flexible zoning in the city. And the concept is that if there's more flexible zoning and more density, there's more supply, which could diminish price.
I think that drives price up.
I'm of the mindset, I say this to Neil all the time, I say this to Gillikin on Twitter all the time, Stolzenberg, the city planning commissioner, all the time, that if you add density like this, you're going to get speculation
It's proven.
and investors coming in.
Well,
This
there's-
cottage justifies it. Tim Grossman, friend of the program, his listings on
Those
Shamrock.
properties, yes.
Shamrock, I saw him
Anything that
3
I can
days
buy,
ago.
anything that I can buy that's single family that I can then tear down and rebuild as multifamily.
He straight up told me if it wasn't for
they're
the
gonna do that.
upzoning, he would never have gotten $1 million plus. I think he got $1.2 million and change for these properties on
Yes.
Shamrock.
So there's an equilibrium that's going to happen. So the initial,
Big word for you.
I know that. I've been gone for a week. I've been practicing big words. They give me such a hard time. I don't understand why. It could be I make up words from time to time. Matter of fact, every day. But what will happen is there will be an equilibrium on that. The initial thrust will be higher prices, but once you hit this critical mass, now the question becomes, and I don't disagree with you gentlemen at all. The question is going to become, will the new upzoning, and we need to get back to my bet, the initial, will it generate enough units to hit that mass?
The threshold.
And the answer is going to be no.
Of course not.
The
We're in
answer is no.
10.2 square mile
answer is
city.
no. The
We have
answer is
nowhere to expand.
The
The
answer is no.
ADUs are not going to be towers of apartments.
The-
They're going to be basement cottages and granny and
We,
sheds.
we would have to, some ridiculous number like double the
Right.
rooftop, double the resident, and that
Yeah.
physically just isn't going to
So
happen.
look at what happened when.
This is. I feel like this is very obvious.
So
but
look at Ridge Street by the firehouse.
The only way that's going to work is with a government. Excuse me to interrupt you, but government.
tax abatements.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Which is part of this program I helped in Seattle create ADUs for housing affordability, and it was all about tax.
If someone, and
breaks.
Scott, you're going to jump in here. If someone has an opportunity to build an ADU in their backyard, a tiny house in their backyard, these damn things cost like $150,000
They're very
to build.
expensive.
They're going to take a mortgage on it, and they're going to want to get ROI on the sweat equity and on the debt service.
So what happened?
And they're gonna raise the- they're gonna
what
jack up
happened
the
in
price.
Seattle? That's what they did. The folks that did that were not developers, were not builders, were not property management. They took $150,000 and ended up getting foreclosed on
Wow.
both properties. So there's a whole path over there. But I'll let
Scott's got
So
something.
look at what happened when you took the ability to have these colonial single-family homes on Ridge Street and through those areas, and then bust them into 6-unit rentals over time. That's what you're going to see in the same facet. You're going to see investors move in, purchase these properties, knock them down, rebuild multifamily. Some will survive, some will not. Some will be managed poorly. There will be winners and losers, and you're going to see these properties turn into they will deteriorate neighborhoods and areas with winners and losers, and that's where you will see the new shift in rental.
it'll become more affluent. The affluence is
will not become more affluent. Some
I
of them will,
disagree.
and some of them won't. There will
Yeah.
be winners and losers.
Unless-
in that
unless
scenario.
the city-
just like the people who bought that and did that in the aspect that you're talking about, went and had some of them foreclosed on. You will have good landlords, bad landlords. Still,
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have
market
that
capture, but you're going to be putting more units in these areas, and the more units.
Jerry, how many new tech jobs are coming to our area?
Boatload.
And
More
what's
than we can count.
And what's going to happen is, look, if I was back in the day developing, I would do exactly what you
So
said.
then
I
you're
go
gonna
buy a
have
house
rentals
in
that people
Belmont.
can't afford, and then you're going to have, there's
And I'm gonna rent
legitimately
it.
for the first time I've seen a tent in Culpeper, where on Main Street. So that is you're going to have you're going to price this Charlottesville is going to be your
Culver
micro-
City, Los Angeles.
So you
San
can't get in-
Manhattan
Francisco.
Beach, San
Yeah.
Francisco.
I'm sorry that we're doing this. we're having fun here. So,
And we got to get Pre's take on this too.
Yes.
Because I know she's got a take on all this.
Well, I think I'm more so kind of observing what you guys are discussing is happening in Charlottesville. And again, I cover such a wide market that I'm going to experience some of that in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of tech jobs that are going to be coming
Amazon
that
would be
direction.
one.
Yep, and they're also purchasing some land in some of the rural areas as well. So I feel like Culpeper is a guinea pig. It's a hub of being a guinea pig to where it's going to have this huge explosion. And they're experiencing some of that explosion now with the cost of rent. I mean, one bedroom in Culpeper can cost you $1,600.
That's bananas.
For Culpeper, that's expensive.
Crazy.
That's bananas.
It's super expensive. And, you know, this morning on my way coming here, I saw someone on social media, they were looking for a 2-bedroom, I think, maybe a 3-bedroom. And they said, and I don't want anybody to tell me $2,000 a month. I'm not paying that.
in Madison.
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe. I can't remember where it was, but I'm like, that's kind of the price,
That's the price.
here.
So I was giving a presentation to Greene County, and one of the things I noted is I just did a quick apartments.com search when I was sitting there live in front of the Board of Supervisors. You know, a 2-bedroom in Greene County is $1,800 bucks. A
And for
three-
Greene County, I think that's expensive.
for a
But-
third,
Depending on where, yeah, like no doubt.
yeah, and there's not a lot of them, and it was just a
So
quick.
what's the solution? Is
Yes,
the
more-
solution you're working a second job?
The solution is less government red tape for new construction to actually for development to occur.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
It's when it's 25% of all new construction residential units. It's insane. It's a balance, really. It's that we got to. My term I always use is turning red tape into green tape. Right now, again, I mentioned Seattle a couple of times. So the things that they've done out there, and I know this because I was part of it, is what they did. If you were a housing affordability project and you checked certain boxes, you got fast tracked automatically through it. And it's very complicated because it's at the state level. We're a Dillon rule state, which is a bloody mess, and yada yada yada. But you know they can 100% make this a lot easier. But what they did for the ADU auxiliary dwelling units in that is they partnered with a land trust. I chair a land trust, Affordable Housing Land Trust, on it. And what they did is they said, okay, if you're going to build an ADU, this little tiny she shed in the backyard, and go ahead and do this. As Jerry said, you'll get a substantial tax break.
That's not happening here.
It is not. It can. They just won't do it.
Travis Hackworth is watching in Danville, Virginia. He says a 2-bedroom in Danville is now renting for $1,200 to $1,500 a month.
In Danville.
In
Wow,
Danville.
Yeah, but
Is it,
but
all
the
they have is VIR,
no.
The
Danville.
racetrack?
the racetrack.
No.
Danville's booming.
Danville
It's the
is
comeback city.
I would agree 100%.
It's the comeback city. You got the casino coming over there.
Watch that in the next couple of
Neil
years.
Williams says it is impossible to have affordable housing without housing.
Yeah, no, well, and oh, by the way,
One of the things that Culpeper is facing, and I can't remember which committee I was on or partaking in, but I was working with some investors. They were actually trying to create a housing that was not affordable because Culpeper actually lacks. We have a lot of teachers that migrate to Culpeper from Pennsylvania.
Sure.
The teachers are kind of stuck in the middle with that teacher salary. They make too much for the affordable housing,
Yep.
but not enough for the $1,700 a month for a 1-bedroom. So, you know, Culpeper actually lacks something in the middle. Either you have to make no money and you can qualify for housing, or you don't make enough to get what's available.
So the explanation they gave to the Greene County Board of Supervisors was exactly that. Starting teacher in Greene County makes, I think it's under $50,000. If you're doing a 2-bedroom, you know, it's about $1,800 a month. If it's a 3-bedroom, it's about $2,400 a month. The math just doesn't work.
No.
Right? But, you know, a shout out to Neil. I read his Christmas poem.
I read his poem too. I made it through about 75% of it, Neil. I thought it was fantastic. He's the king of pop culture and the king of content. Neil Williamson, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum. I found it.
You've got to read the whole thing. It gets better at the end.
I went
got
to
it.
the end. You're awesome.
Thank you.
So,
You guys are awesome.
please ask Pri to come back.
Please.
Absolutely. And she's got an opening whenever she wants to come.
Yeah,
Perfect,
this
thank
is
you.
this has
Well,
been
you
very
surely
enjoyable.
raised the value of the panel.
And she's
for
a pro.
sure.
She's got the
Thank you.
financing side, the real estate side. She's a pro. Judah Wickhauer is the North Star of the network and the set here. He runs the board, the audio, the visual, and helps make us look good, which from time to time is a challenge, except for Pri. The show is archived at iloveseville.com and realtalkwithkeithsmith.com.
Thank
You can
you.
also find Wednesday shows on Scott Morse's YouTube page.
I like it. Look at how it's like folks know that brand and marketing are going to be paramount in 2023 when things
Yes.
get a little
You
tighter.
think?
I wonder why that got out there. All right, the I Love Seville show is up in 50 minutes, guys, and we're going to talk more about this rental that is going by 200,000 unique IP addresses in less than 24 hours on 1,100 a month, 258 square foot cottage. That story and more at 12:30. Take care, everyone. That was awesome. He's going to tell us when the mics are off here very shortly.